Hi, hello, this is going to be a tier list from the free-to-play FE7 playthrough I done. It's not ranking the units based on their performance because that would change some units. Like some units I haven't used, like Oswin, essentially I haven't used him and he's still top tier. This is a tier list for the talents itself. If you don't really care about what I'm saying, you've seen the pictures, so you can just go and watch another video. I will still have to explain those things. So let's start with the first thing. This is not my first tier list for this kind of talents. I don't want on FE8. I think there is a feature that I could use for YouTube that will link that. So hopefully I'll do that. So the first thing I'm going to say is the tier list for weapons and explain the difference between this one and Sacred Stones. Like, on Sacred Stones I had multi-type instead of special. I just couldn't bring myself to do that here because it'll be hard. Like, if I were to do that, Lucius would not be on light and I would be empty, which would be quite silly. So yeah, I chose not to have that. And also there are more special types here. I have Athos on special. It's quite self-explanatory. Like, he only is there for one map and he can use 4 weapon types. So it's different, and his before deploy, it's not. There's not even a point tiring him when you will always have him for all the maps you could have him. So yeah, I have an special and I don't have multi-type instead. That doesn't mean the units can only use one weapon type, they can use multiple. We'll talk about that later. And there's also Phi, where it was special before. Phi stands for F as the worst unit ever because you can use her for this challenge, so I had to put her somewhere. This is not the best unit, and like specials were back then there. And yeah, the tier list for the first tier list, weapon types are also tier in order. Though for this one, they're more just tier based on availability. And Athos being here, ignore that. It's the weapons that are tier based on availability, and then special. That's outside the tier, but still there because for full recruitment and such, you kinda will use them. So that's why it's on the first row, that, and because it was easier for me. So compared to Sacred Stones, we have lances being better than axes, and swords are even better than axes. It may seem silly that one range slug seems better than 2 range, but it's not the use, it's more the amount of times you can use. And I feel that lances, I could use the most amount of units for lances, while swords I was able to use 2 or 3. Axes was like using 2 or 3 the first half, and then I was just using them for the boss kills mainly. Staves are really valuable. I was only using 1 throughout all the playthrough, and then kinda 2. So they might have less use than what bows could do, maybe, or what anima could do, but staves are more important. Like, they're really important. I needed the healing for like every part. You don't get access to buy things, so it's not like you could buy infinite vulneraries and try not to use staves because you don't have that option. Then we have anima. Anima, I had weapons for pen plenty, and I still have more available later. So I was using 1 unit for only half, but I'm pretty certain I could use 2. In fact, that's talking about my last playthrough, the one that's uploaded on YouTube. I had done another one previously where there was no turn limit, and I was using stat boosters, and I was using air. So I did use on that playthrough 1 mates around all the playthrough, and then 2 or maybe even Zerg, but I was using 1. So that's same point of staves. Then we have bows. I do believe that bows, I could use more bow units than the other types. I mean, if you look at the tile list, you can see also why. But yeah, there was enough bows for me to use a unit all the playthrough if I really wanted to. Not that I wanted to, but you could. And even later, for the second half, you could probably use two. Then dark. There are not that many dark tomes. There might be even more light tomes than dark tomes, but dark magic is more valuable. You have Luna there, you have Nosferatu. It's easier to use. And finally we'll have just light, which there was enough for me to use one unit. Kinda. I was also running low, so it was good. It is just one unit. You just use one unit. And before going into all the tier lists, the general for units and such, if you have seen this, you can probably see that if you just pick like 12 units, I think there are around the deployment slots you may want. You pick 12 units from the first row and units from the first column, because there's a little down here. And Bartek is there. So you more or less will have already a decent enough team for the game within this challenge and the game in general, but yeah. So it's not terrible. It's just maybe some people could see other units being better, some other ones being worse, and that's what we're going to discuss now, I guess. So let's start with the first lot, not this one. This one we already talked about that, there's no point. Special, we have Niels and Ninian, Athos and Hector. Their order, technically their order. I do think that Niels and Ninian are better than Athos. I'm not sure which one would do better, because, you know, they're essentially the same unit. I didn't bother putting them one over another one, so I choose to have Niels because you have Niels on lean mode, and if you could train him there. You had to train him there for 19xx if you want to go for that. So there's that value, I guess. Athos, being great. It might be only once out there, but you're definitely going to use him unless you want to not use him. You'll end up using him. Hector has full availability for Hector hard mode, and as Salor, he'll have the Wolf Veil and then Armats, and for Hector Harmer you get another Wolf Veil later, so that's why he's up there over Eliwood and Lin. Let's check this special column first. Lin, it's force deploy for some maps, still have the Manicati, and that's a really good weapon, like a really good weapon. It's like a killer. It's with effective damage and also 40 uses or 45 uses. So it's a weapon that's worth hammering. Obviously, if you get a really bad lean, that's not really helpful. But it's good, and you can get access to bows, which you kinda don't want to use early on, honestly. It's hard to train bows archers early on, so that's the good point. And she comes with D rank and like most promotion, like the lords do get more weapon rank bonuses than other ones, which means that she can use longbow and steelbow at base. So it's not like she would be locked to iron bow. It's quite easy to get a bow for her to use. Even if you had used as an archer early on, you could still get access to the steel bow from Gates if you have gone Gates, which you probably want, as what I had on my notes and what I had done both times. We'll talk about later. Melinos, it's higher than Eliwood. Ignore that. It's unacceptable. It's considered acceptable, and he doesn't take a deployment slot from any other unit, so it's there. It's just there. If you had forgotten, bring a vulnerary or maybe a promotion item, whatever. It can be helpful. It's not that hard to keep him alive for most maps. Eliwood, it's worse than Lin because he has the rapier, which is probably worse than Manikati. It might still have 40 uses, or maybe 30, but the thing is, you don't get access to Lin mode. In case you do Lin mode, you can keep experience to Lin, which would already make her better than Eliwood. But even if you don't do Lin mode, the issue with Eliwood is that it seems good on paper that you're getting access to a horse and lances. But at that point, you're not really getting that many. You're not really having that many lances for him to use unless you purposely hit them or him, which is not a thing you need to do with Lin. Lin is most likely going to have at least that silver from Geese if you wanted to. So he's not going to have the lances to use unless you want it, which makes the promotion more or less just like a horse utility. And a repair being worse than Manikati. I just don't really think it's that worth it that compared to Lin. Like, Lin could do as a bow unit if you haven't used a bow unit before. Eliwood is not going to do the role of a paladin if you haven't used one before, because like Marcus there, you could still use base Marcus and be fine probably. You could use Isadora and be fine. And then there's what? It's on Curious. I've considered that Curious as C rank. Curious is because I would be curious to see how it goes around where you keep using him. It's still on a special because you had to use him to get Carla. That's also the reason why we have the lords on a special, because you kinda need to train them in order to get Gates map and Gates. Let's go now with lances. Yeah, I think I would rather go for weapons to weapons. Lances, we have Marcus, Oswin, Vida. I think Marcus is self-explanatory that he's just good. He's not going to fall off except for maybe speed and strength. I mean, he could be at some point sword to kill bosses, maybe. Also, if you get unlucky and don't level up speed. Yeah, he's still there. He has the weapon runs to train on any rank. You don't. I mentioned that again. You don't need to use him only for lances. He could actually go for S rank in swords or S rank in axes. I went for S rank in axes on that playthrough I had uploaded. I believe lances are better for him because it's easier. And if you don't pay too much attention, you may end up having S rank lances before. So there's that. Oswin, I didn't trade him on any playthrough, and I still think that's a solid lance user. He has 14 base strength, I think, which is amazing. Like, he can have the strength, he can have the defense. I checked stats compared to Lowen, and he should have more strength, defense, and even resistance than Lowen. He'll just have less move, which is another reason I wasn't going to train him on the video that I uploaded because of the time limit that was imposed. Then there's Vida. Vida barely joins. I don't think she has that much availability. People could consider that as an acceptable unit. The thing is that Vida doesn't need a promotion item, and she still have more strength and defense. And by the time you get her, you can have the Delphi seals. You won't ever be weak to arrows at any moment. I did manage to get a Nosferatu with her, not like I used that, I think, but it was fine. You could use her, deploy her, and do enough utility, and the no need of promotion items is valuable, farm ranks especially, because you just don't need to train her at all to have an 8 movement flyer, unlike those other flyers. Saying it's downgrade to acceptable. He'd probably be solid. He was solid before. I just don't grade him into acceptable just because if you don't do limo, he's not going to do maths. I still would say that training him is good. That is a good idea and might be better than Lowen even because it's more strength growth. You want strength. Like essentially, if you don't really care about this tier list, you can just pick the units with the highest base strength or the highest strength growth and go with that. Also make sure that you bring units for each weapon time because you also need that. But yeah, that's kinda it. That and then the lures to get beats because I still think that's better. Then there's the flyers. I put Fiora and Florina over hits. That's probably because it's easier for them to train. They have more chapters. Florina does have limo, but if you don't do limo, Fiora will have more strength. And even when I did limo, the videos I uploaded, she didn't manage to get the experience. Also, if you don't care about the turn limit, you could keep the weapons that Florina had on limo to Zane and boss abuse more with Zane to get more experience with him. So that's something you're losing on if you want to give experience to Florina over Zane on limo. So that's the reason I have her after Fiora, and they are above Heath because even though Heath will have more defense, more strength, and decent enough speed probably, Heath joins at a point in which you don't really want him. The chapter he joins is a boss map that you want to go for the boss kill, so he's not going to do much. The next chapter is the desert where there are mages. So you kinda want those Pegasus Knights over him, and same goes for the next map, Genesis, where there are a lot of mages as well. So he joins, so he can just train way later. And not on Gates map either, because that's a boss kill. So the best map, you could start training maybe on Crazebees against those fighters down there, but like probably the same could be done for Fiora with the Axe River. And in theory, I use Fiora to do that skip, to beat that quickly by flying, and that's where mages are. So again, maybe the Pegasus Knife would do better. So yeah, and he'll have less times to train. That's it. Like it's harder to train. Koalas, it's curious. Okay, I guess we could talk now about koalas. I think it's easier and better to go kids. That being said, Koalas map, which is also the Linux version, the Lloyd's version, I think it seems that Koalas will give you a silver lance and a hand axe. The hand axe could be nice and would let you do what that video I follow on Crazebees, like have a hand axe on Hawkeye instead of carrying it, which is nice because that means that there is that choice. You don't need to worry about not getting hits for that reason, and you could do fine on all the maps. And the silver lance is also helpful. The reason I just want to do kits mainly is because I don't really see a way to get Koalas, because by the time you deploy him, promoting a flyer, which I think is possible, I think you do have the promotion items, it's possible. Making them to level 20 before promotion doesn't seem viable, but if you just promote them for that, it could be nice. And yeah, you need to get him somehow. I'm not sure how fast you need because he's really far away, and I remember being siege storms on that map. So I'm not sure how easy it would be to recruit him and do the map if you find a way to do it, you don't know how to do it, you could do it, and that would make you not train Eliwood nor Lee more than necessary. Like training Eliwood wouldn't be a thing. Like you just use the rapier whenever you have that, and that's it. The same goes for the Manikati. The Erlin could still be trained because of the bows utility. There's not that many bow users, especially if you go on Wallace, you won't have gates. So Luis could be your better choice, or Wrath. And Lin was better than Luis when I promote her on my last playthrough, so she can probably keep up and still get access to swords, at least some swords if you give her some. So she could still do nice as a bow unit. Eliwood is just not. So if you go Wallace, you can save maybe some swords from Eliwood to another unit, and the same goes for Lin. There is some value. It's just I don't feel like checking that. I mean I couldn't do that. I couldn't try that. I don't have the saves test for that. If you find a way, that might do nicely. Then again, you're losing on kids, which is probably the best for users, as I have him tired. So there's that. You'll see what you could do. If that's quite some curious as well, because it's not just C rank, it's curious, because I would be interested in seeing how doing Lloyd's version would be. And also, speaking of that, technically Florina will have more value for that reason, because Florina can recruit Wallace, so you wouldn't need to rescue anyone, unlike Fiora. So this is debatable. It depends on what you do. Also, this is tiring him before, even if you promote him or not on Limit, even if it comes unpromoted, even if it comes promoted, they'll still be the same tire. I don't think it'll be any different. Unless, well, you somehow boost views on day mode. Let's go to source now. So Harken and Jafar are on solid tire or whatever. It's pretty clear, like 23 strength plus Bracer. He was probably the unit I used the most for boss kills once I got him. He was my highest strength unit by far. And he was still fast enough to double most enemies, so he's obviously good. Jafar is there because Silencer, and he's also fast to double things. He's faster than Harken. He doesn't have that much strength, but he still has, I think, 19, which is the same as crits. It's not terrible. It's just relying on crits or Silencer doesn't feel right. Like, it feels a little worse. That's why it's on the second and not the first one. Then we have Acceptable. We have both Matthew and Nicole. They're thieves. They have that utility of getting some tests. That's nice. I haven't bothered which ones to get more, which are more valuable, which are not. Matthew joins first, so Matthew's the first one. Legol might do better performance, but yeah, Matthew's first. It's there. If you don't care about farm runs, you can promote them into assassins and then get Silencer. But they're not going to be better than Jafar, so there's that. Then we have Kent over Key. I'm not so wait, over Key. I think I know. I think Kent is over Key because even if he falls off, like, you'll just use Harken once you get him and such. He'll still have the horse utility. You can still rescue the people, which, by the way, on my last playthrough videos uploaded, I end up deploying Marcus and Zane almost without weapons to rescue some units. So there's that. Like, I was actually deploying some Cavaliers for rescue drop utility, and that's it. And then there's Key. He can go Sword Master, get the 50% crit bonuses, and probably help save you some weapon uses that way. I'm just not sure if that'll be good enough in terms of reliability, because there might be the it might be the case that he just doesn't want around some enemies that with other units you could, which would make him worse. Maybe like it might not save you enough weapons with crits that the weapons that is taking you from not critting. That is RNG, and RNG is not great. That's another reason to put Ken over him, but it's, I think, can have more strength and obviously more speed. But yeah, that's more or less about it. Then we have Isadora. Isadora is just no. Like no. I think Ken will just perform better if you train him, and you could have Limo to give him some experience. In fact, maybe I believe that giving experience to Zane and Ken is better than Zane and Florina, because you still have Fiora. So yeah, that's a thing. And you could also just, not train Zane if you wanted to, and give the experience to Ken for Limo instead, which can work. And that extra speed could maybe help you against some bosses. There's that. Isadora is just deploy on starters joins, but like most of the time you could get by with Marcus or with another, or a trained cavalier that you have used. And not training a cavalier doesn't. I'm not sure if you want to do that. I mean, you could maybe, but not a thing you really want. And I guess we finally have Carla and Karel. Carla is before Karel because of Harken. I think Harken is always better, but not even on these talents, just better. You don't want to rely on the crits, and Carla at least will join on a full recruitment playthrough. You just had she'll just join, so it's not like the weapon is costing you anything. I think Karel is costing you the bracer. that's a thing. So could he work? Maybe, but do you want him over Harken? No. So he's just there at the bottom of Source. And then we have Access, and okay is there. It is on bows, and because bows, there's not that many things I could put on bows. But Hauke is there, the same as he had the crit bonus, but at least axes are stronger and Hauke has more strength, so he can do nicely. He could work for boss skills again if you wanted to. He has at least B rank, I believe, on axe rank, so that's good enough for Brave Axe. And we have Lowen up there. Why is up there? I do know. Why do you think it's up there? I'm going to tell you in a minute, so it's not like it matters. Yeah, the reason why Lowen is here and not on solid lances or solid swords or anything like that, it's because I believe that if you're going to train a cavalier without doing limo, or train Lowen, that doesn't come from limo, the best thing you could do for an axe user is there. Like, I guess I haven't explained properly. It's nice to train them for S-run axes if you're going to not use lean mode or Lowen, because it doesn't have lean mode. It's quite easy. All of them could actually work. Like, in fact, if you don't do lean mode, they both come at D rank, and the same goes for Lowen, and they come at a higher level, so it's less time you need to train them without having access to axes. So it'll be even easier for them to train axe rank without getting S rank on swords or lances. It's just the better choice. But that is okay. The reason why I put him there is because I wanted to mention that if you're going to train someone for S-run axes, and that's not Hokey, because Hokey is a pre-promoted joins later with a better weapon rank, the best thing you could do is pick up one of those 3 cavaliers. In that case, I have placed that one, and train them for S-rank axes. The reason is because you don't need to train them with axes. You don't need to train the weapon rank until they promote, which means that you could spend axes on another unit, Bartre and Hector. You could spend the axes on those ones soon enough and then train them on axes once they promote, meaning that you don't need to worry that much about running out of axes for Bartre nor Hector. You could use them at ease without worrying. That being said, you probably kinda had to use the Devil Axe to train them for S rank axes, but it's worth it. I think that's worth it. Like, if you want to train those other units like Dorcas and Dar for S rank, you'll have to train them on axes and promote it, and then promote it because they will have at most A rank. I think you don't get access to S rank upon promotion, unlike on FE6. So that is the reason. You just don't want to waste the axes while you're still training Bartre nor Hector, so you have more choices. That's the reason I have him on S for solid. It's still after Hokey, because Hokey would obviously be the better choice because of weapon rank and being promoted with more strength. And the same reason I have Raven here, ignore the fact that I also didn't have the blame slots for swords. He's there because he could also work for X-rank axes, but obviously he can go for S-rank swords. I would say that he's better than Key. Not sure if he would do better than Ken, but Ken is again the horse utility, the reason I put him over Keys, so that's probably the same reason I would put him over Raven. And for the same reason, Lowen is better than Raven because of the horse utility later on, even if you run out of weapons. Also, having lances at the same time lets you have more 1-2 range tools. Because again, you don't focus on one weapon type for those cavaliers. You use all of them, but make sure that you don't get S rank on the weapon ranks you don't want. And that way I have one of each cavalier on each tire, on each weapon type. And I think I already explained why Dorcas and Dark are down here. You could consider Dark being better because of the crit bonuses, but I don't think that's reliable. It gives you way much more gold if you care about farm ranks and such. And it joins later. And also upon promotion you only get access to E rank posts, so yeah, not really. You're not doing it, and you will always be worse than it, so it's not a point. And I guess we have saves. This is quite clear, like Renault doesn't deserve to be at the same tier as Sarah nor Priscilla because of availability. And I place Priscilla over Sarah because of course utility, but also because of the weapon upon promotion. Like Light seems better because you have Pen, but not really because it's I do believe from my 2 playthroughs that it's just better to use Lucius and it's just better to use Lucius early on and save the weapons for Pen and use Priscilla in case you somehow promote her or early promote her than use Sarah and Eric, because that's the 2 couples you would use. Then again, I did not promote Priscilla. I guess that's also because of farm ranks, but I didn't manage to get her to level 20. And the same should go for Sarah. Like, she's not going to get more experience, so she won't be promoted. You will have to really promote those units to make use of them. And that's bad, but you can use that. It's acceptable. It's not just that bad. But yeah, Priscilla's better, and that's pretty much it. Anima, I mean, it's Pen. Obviously, it's always Pen. You kinda want to use Pen, even if you train Eric as I did on my first playthrough. Pen was still better. Pen would, even if you somehow managed get a good Erg, Pen would still have the staff rank. Pen would still have A rank in states. Yeah, that still will be a thing better than Erg. So there's just no way I can place Erg at the same tier. And Nino is not bottom tier, it's just on Brave because as it happened with my playthrough that I uploaded, I end up having enough animatoms to use on another unit. And I was running low in almost every other weapon, so I actually deployed her because she was one of the few units that could actually still fight because I still had weapons. Just because of that, I'm not going to put her on at the bottom because I know I would still want a mates to do combat. Be her or be Erg. And obviously if you hadn't trained Erg, will do better. Not much better, but it's still better. Bows. There's hits. Hits can go for S rank on Axis if you wanted to. But looking at the other choices for S rank for bows, you kinda want hits. Wrath is close. I'm not denying that, but it takes a hard time to train. Luis will have less strength. The speed might be nice, but I still managed to double a sniper from the final chapter with it, so I'm not sure if the extra speed from Luis is that really necessary. And the extra strength from it can let him work as a boss killer. So Luis is not that great as it seems. You have the support with Pen, but if you don't care about the turn limit, you could build up supports with other units. Then we have Wrath at the same tier. I think I'm at the same tier as Luis. I think I downgrade Luis because I just couldn't bring myself to put her at the same tier as Hits. Also because Wrath, which I wasn't going to place at the same tier as Hits, not a chance. Like Wrath joins for 2 chapters early. On the chapter he joins, he's not going to do much. Again, it's a boss kill map, and you kind of want to go for the boss kill. The DC map, he's not great. He barely moves. So he just has. So before Gates, you just have only Genesis, which is nice, and I deploy him and make use of him quite nicely there. But it's just one map. It will do enough for training him to level 10. But at level 10 per mode, you're not getting into Git stats. In fact, I don't think you can have Git strength at level 21, so you're not rating there. You have Limo, but even with Limo, it's hard. I guess if you don't care about the turn limit, or if I have somehow found a different way, you could maybe boss abuse, not against the final boss as that one has more strength, but against Ickler, I think it was how it's called, the previous one, who is still a promoted unit. You could maybe boss abuse against that one a little and give him no experience. So that's a thing. And the same goes for Will. That's the reason why we have Will over Rebecca. Also because I kind of like to fill all the slots, but yeah, Will is better than Rebecca because of Limo, and technically even without Limo, he does have one more strength, at least as base strength, so there's that. And unlike Wrath, I did deploy him for Ida's map because there were ballistas I could use, and he was actually helpful. He actually did some cheat damage that let me kill enemies, so that's something valuable. Probably Rebecca could have done it, but again, you have lane mode available and you have more strength, so I can't deny that. And I guess there's not really too much to talk about Dark, about Canas. on Lucius for Dark and Light Magic. You don't have any other tools. Like, for Canast, you don't have any other Dark Magic anti-Lathos, and there's that. You want to use every weapon type. You want to make sure you have every weapon you could use to fight. Like, I essentially waste the hammer preparing weapons that I didn't really need for my last playthrough. So maybe you could get by without using him if you for some reason hate him, and just make sure you have a Luna for the final map for Athos, and that's it. But yeah, it's better to use him. It's better to have more weapons. Luna is helpful. It still can help you against some bosses, probably. It can help you recreate if you have save states available to get some other kills. You can nose tank maybe if you somehow get a speedy one, or give him body rings, because I also wasn't using stat boosters on that playthrough. And there's Eclipse, which it's funny, but I still wanna run, and I did find a pretty easy array against the boss from Crazy, so not terrible the accuracy, unlike FP6. This is okay. Lucius, you have Serra as a different tool, unlike Canas, but because Serra is going to be healing most of the time, unless you really promote her. It's a good idea that I place him on Solid, and he was good. Like, I used him, he was good. He was doubling. He was one-rounding most enemies. He almost one-shot them, but he couldn't manage to do so. But he did have magic, so I don't think I was going to one-shot them in any other way. Yep. It's, again, light magic. You want to use one unit that can use light magic. Doesn't matter who. It could be Serra or it could be him. You can train him. And you technically have limb mode, which Serra does have limb mode. It does have limb mode, but because you can't buy anything, so you just have one heal, and I think that's it, which might be like 3 to 4 levels. And Lucius could maybe boss abuse, could maybe get boss kills, and probably get much more experience than 3 to 4 levels, because even having only light, maybe that's still 40 uses or 30 uses, which could maybe be 5-6 levels. So yeah, so there's that. Like, I do believe that was a better choice, also because I'm pairing them up. I'm pairing Serra with Eric and Lucius with Priscilla, because training 2 healers is not gonna work. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get them both to level 20 to level 10 to promote them. So you just pick one healer and pick the other magic user. So if you go with Serra, you just either promote her and then use Lucius. And you could try using Lucius on Serra the same way I did on my playthrough. Just don't promote Serra and use Lucius for magic and Serra for staves. But then it would be worse than Priscilla because it doesn't have a horse. And I think that's about it. There's not really anything else. Like, Rebecca's curious if you want to use her, because again, you did have both from early on to still use her. It's just I don't really think it's worth training an archer. It would, because you most of the time don't want round things and such, and see does have those things. And you could probably use, you can probably use it without the time limit. You can probably pick almost any unit as long as you have every weapon type. You might be able to get by. It'll be hard. Obviously, it'll be hard. The lower the units you pick, the harder it'll be, but you might be able to manage that. Like, if you don't care about the time limit, you don't care about farm runs, you have the hammer as well to repair weapons that you could be using, just so you don't run out, which would have been a little helpful with Lucius probably. And yeah, that's more or less all I wanted to say about this tier list. If you want to point something out, if you think some units should be different, that's fine. You can have that thought and you can tell me that in the comment section, because I read that and I probably agree with you. Like, unless it's really different, telling me something like this unit is worth using for S rank over okay. Unless it's very extreme though, I probably agree with you. And yeah, that's about it. Around 45 minutes. It's way shorter than before, but still took longer than I thought. Yep, I hope you enjoy it. I'm not sure if I'll do this ever again, because I don't really have the portraits for any other game but F6, and I haven't done F6 yet. So I'll see you on another video. Bye.